So we're starting at number 16. And this one's really easy. This might be the easiest one on the whole exam. So it's natural log of e to the negative 6x power. Remember, ln for natural log means log base e. Okay? So if I rewrote this as log base e of e to the negative 6x, what happens with log base e and the e? It cancels. So what's the answer? Negative 6x. Okay? So just remember, this basically cancels. All right? So that's like a gimme problem, right? So make sure we don't miss that one. Okay? So I think that's it for logs. Okay, I think that was chapter 7 stuff. Chapter 8 stuff is from now until number, I think, all the way to 30. I think, yeah. The rest of it. All right, so anyway, the problem, I guess I should read it. The distance varies directly as time, because as time increases, the distance traveled increases proportionally. So distance varies, d equals, when you see the word varies, you got that constant of variation. K had to be in all those, right? So you might want to put direct variation is K times multiplication, inverse multiplication, inverse was what? Division. Oh, K times, remember? K divided by, and then joint was K times two things. Okay? And I think we have a joint variation for number 18. All right? So this says distance varies directly as time, so K times T would be our little equation from that. Okay? But the speed of sound in air is about 335 feet per second. So they actually, in this problem, gave you the K value. All right? Or you could put distance is, if you put distance is 335 and it's per second, so time would be 1. You just, K times 1 is K is 335. So basically they're telling you the K value. So how long will it take to travel 18,425 feet? All right, so 18,425 equals 335 times T. What are you going to end up doing? Just divide. So most of you just realize you're just going to go 18,425 divided by 335, which was 55 seconds. So that one's not too bad either. Okay? We haven't got quite to the hard ones yet. 18 was a joint variation one. Remember, this is all multiple choice, though, right? When you guys take this. But this is what it says. The volume V of a cylinder varies. So V equals K jointly means we're going to multiply a couple things. And varies starting with the height. So H is one of the things. And radius squared. So there's our little equation or formula for volume. Okay? Colite, you're done drinking, right? Thank you. So it says volume is 113.04 when the height was 4 and the radius squared was 9. So So 4 times 9 is 36, so I'm going to divide by 36, and you get 3.14. So what's the K actually? What symbol would we actually use? Pi, yeah. Right, but we're not really using it. So it says find the volume, so part 2, remember these have 2 parts. So if it's, you know, a multiple choice problem, I bet one of your choices is going to be 3.14. That's not the answer yet, right? We're looking for volume. Find the volume, and I can put 3.14 in for K when H is 6 and R squared is 36. Okay, and then you just multiply all those out, all those together, and what did I get? 678.24. That's cubic centimeters, volumes in cubic units, right? Too many people zoned out. Come on, let's stay focused. Make sure you're writing stuff that you need on your cheat sheet, note card. All right, 19. Now we start getting to where it might be a little bit more difficult. So we have to simplify rational expressions, which are fractions. Okay, and when we simplify rational expressions, we try to factor everything we can factor first. So I got to factor this numerator and denominator. What's the first thing we want to do when we factor? Look for a GCF. Yeah. What's the GCF for the numerator? 6y. And then what's 6y cubed divided by 6y? Y squared. And what's negative 18y divided by 6y? Thanks. How about the denominator? Just y, right? And then we get y minus 3. So I think there's a typo here. I think they wanted these two to be the same, but they didn't. No. If these two were the same, what could I do with them? I could cancel, all right? What can I cancel though? Those two y's that we pulled out that were part of the GCF. Okay? It also says identify any y values for which the expression is undefined. We called those restrictions. All right, so let's write the answer first. Okay, what I think they wanted the answer to be is just 6, but not according to what they gave us, right? So when we look for restrictions, we look at this part. What numbers, when I put in place of y, gives me an answer of 0? Right, 0 and 3. So we put it like this. Y cannot be 0 or 3. Okay? So that's what we're looking for. All right. So put for number 19, you know, maybe you want to write factor and look for, you know, GCF. Okay. For a little note to yourself. Okay, number 20, just like it. But what's going on in this fraction? Sydney, what'd you say?
3 times. It's out of order.
Yeah, it's out of order, right. We don't like that x squared in the middle, right? Where should we put that x squared? Put it out front, right? But what else don't we like about this? That negative, right? So what else did we do when we saw that? We took out -1 as a GCF. I thought I heard somebody say that. right? We want that x squared to be positive, okay? Makes things easier for us. We're used to seeing that. Come on, move up, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna move it over here and put -1 in front. Becomes positive x squared, negative 3x, and a -4. So all I've done is manipulated, changed the order of the numerator and factored out a -1. Now, these are just regular trinomials, so I'm looking for what factors of -4. Remember, factors mean what do I multiply to get -4, but add to get -3. What two numbers? -4, +1. Very good. And again, this is a regular trinomial, and A is 1, right? A is 1, B is -1, C is -12. So when A is 1, I just look at the C. What factors of -12, what times what, adds to give me -1? -4 and +3. Guys remember those trinomial factoring? Now, are there any factors that I can cancel? Yeah, the x minus 4s, right? Okay, so -1 times x plus 1 over x plus 3. This also asks for restrictions, any values that makes it undefined, all right? So it's -1, x plus 1 over x plus 3. And then what's x not allowed to be? 4 and -3. You look at both of them before you cancel, before you simplify. Because that was our original denominator, right? So we need both 4 and -3 for our restrictions. Questions? Okay. All right, number 21. When we divide two fractions, what did we rather do? Say that louder, Sydney. Yeah, multiply by the reciprocal, right? So when I write it down to do it, I'm going to write it down as a multiplication problem. So the 9y to the 7 goes to the top, and the 16 goes to the bottom. Just flip that second one, make it a multiplication problem. Now this one's a little easier because I don't have to do any factoring because there's no addition or subtraction sign. Okay? So it's basically already factored. So I'm looking for numbers and variables that can cancel. You see any numbers or variables that can cancel? The 9s can cancel, and when things cancel, it becomes a 1, right? Any other numbers? Yeah, 4 goes into 4 once, and 4 goes into 16 4 times. So in the top, I got 1 times 1. In the bottom, I got 1 times 4 for the numbers. We okay with that? All right, now look at the variables. What do we look for when we got variables top and bottom? We look for the bigger exponent, right? Where's the bigger exponent for x's? Top. So x is going to stay in the top. And I got 2 x's in the bottom, 8 in the top. So how many gets left in the top? 6. We just subtract them, right? Remember that? Now looking at the y's, where's the bigger exponent? Top, so I write y in the top, in the numerator, and then I subtract. What's 7 minus 1? 6. Yes, Olivia?
There's 7.
Oh, I wrote it wrong? You're right. Thank you. All right, so that leaves me how many up top? 1. I still got more up top, right? So just x to the first. You can put the 1, we usually don't, right? So, it says, assume that all expressions are defined, so I don't have to do any restrictions. Any questions on 21? That wasn't too bad. Okay. 22, we're solving this equation, okay? So what we do is we try to factor the numerator because we might be able to simplify this fraction. All right, so is there a GCF for that numerator? No. So A is 1, B is -1, C is -6. So it's one of those trinomials, 3 terms, where A is 1, it makes it easy. What are the factors? What times what is -6? Added is -1. So -3, somebody said, and +2. So, what goes on with those two? X plus 2's? Cancel. So here's my problem now, my equation. So what's X equal? 2 is right, -2, right? Now, what do we ought to make sure of when we have a problem like this? We got X is -2, we did everything right, but what if you plug -2 up into the original problem? What happens? What happens when I plug -2 right there? I get 0. Am I allowed to get a 0 in the denominator? No. So we did everything right, and -2 is going to be one of your choices, but -2 is the only number we're not allowed to have, right? So actually this has no solution. Don't get tricked. When are you guys taking it? You're taking it Monday, right? Oh, you're Tuesday? Okay. So don't get tricked Tuesday. You did everything right, and that I'm sure that's going to be one of the choices. But realize that, so check, just to make sure. So write yourself a note. Check denominator, make sure it doesn't equal 0. It might do the same thing. $23. This isn't too bad either. Why isn't this too bad? In order to subtract two fractions, what must you have? Common denominator. And we already have the common denominator, don't we? All right, so this isn't too bad. All I have to do is what? Just subtract. So what's -1x squared minus 5x squared? -6x squared. -5x minus nothing, -5x. And -4 minus 2 is -6. It says identify any x values for which the expression is undefined. And what would that be? Right, x cannot equal -3. You know, we would try to factor that out if we could, but that does not factor. Because I got -6 times well, it might. Because that's a +36, right? Now that wouldn't work then. There's no factors of +36 that add up to -5. If it was -36, we could do -9 times 4. But that's it. No way to factor that numerator. All right, so far we all right? Okay, The next two are the tough ones, because we don't have a common denominator. We have to find the common denominator before we can add them or subtract them. So, write yourself a note. Factor denominators only for 24 and 25. Okay, we do not factor any numerators until after we add in 24 or subtract in 25, okay? So just factor denominators so you can find the common denominator. All right, so the first denominator won't factor, but the second one does. What are the factors of -7 that add up to +6? +7 and -1. A lot of times when you do these, the one you can't factor is one of the factors of the other one. So, Johnny, I see you're paying great attention to me. What's the common denominator?
X minus 1.
What else? Coli?
Common denominator?
Yes.
I don't think there's another one.
Whatever shows up, what do we say? Write it down.
The x plus 7?
Yeah. So, what do we got to do to my x plus 9? Max? What do I have to do to x plus 9?
Add it to the other numerator.
Well, I can't add them until I do what to them? Is that you, Danny? What'd you say? Yes. Look what I did to the original denominator and look what I did to the common, right? I multiplied by x plus 7, so I gotta do that to the numerator too. Did I do anything different to these? No. So do I do anything to the numerator? No. You guys remember that? So I have to FOIL that first before I can add them. Okay? So first, outside, inside, left. Okay? Now I can add them by combining the like terms. All right, the denominator won't change. So I got an x squared plus no other x squareds. I got 7 plus 9, 16, plus a negative 12 is 4x. And I got 63 plus a negative 68 would be negative 5. Questions on my numerator now? Now is when you can factor the numerator. Wendy, what's it factor into?
The numerator?
Yep.
X plus 5 and minus 1.
Good. So you see an x minus 1 in both? What can we do? Cancel, right? So the answer is x plus 5 over x plus 7. That's the next. It's almost like a line. Does it ask us to do any values? No. We don't have to do any restrictions for that. So 24 and 25, don't factor numerators until you do your addition or subtraction. Then factor numerators because you may be able to reduce it. That's kind of a tough one. Questions? All right. Subtraction. Same deal. We've got to factor denominators first so we can find our common denominator. Grace, factor this first denominator.
X minus 1.
Did you say 1 or 4?
4.
I thought that's what you said. Yeah, it's a difference in squares. Square root of x squared is x. Square root of 16 is 4. Right, Reynolds? So what's the common denominator, Reynolds?
Plus 4.
That's it? Plus 4?
And x minus 4.
Yeah, whatever shows up, you write down, right? Very good. Trent, what do I do to the first numerator? One on the left. Here was the original denominator. Here's my common denominator. So what do I do to that?
You want to multiply by x minus 4.
For this one? Or for that one?
That one.
Yeah. This one we don't have to do anything to, right?
Right.
Because nothing is different. But over here, we got to multiply by the x minus 4, because that's what we did to the original denominator. You guys with me? Zeta, what's this times this?
X squared. Minus 4x. Plus 7x. Minus 28.
Thank you. Sammy Joe. Subtract them, please. Good. Okay, that's plus 3x there, right? So what's that do to it? Yeah, good. What's minus a negative 28?
Well, negative plus.
Right. What'd you get?
Negative.
So good. Good job. Jordan, factor that numerator now, please.
X minus x plus 4 x minus 3.
Not 3.
No, 7.
Yes. Thank you. Negative 7 times 4 is negative 28, and negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3. Cade, what's my answer?
X minus 7 over x minus 4.
Good. Brandon, what are my restrictions? Because this asks for restrictions.
Seven and 4. Negative 4 and 4.
Good. Questions? So those two there, 24 and 25 are pretty tough. Okay? Got to find your common denominators first. Factor denominators first. Don't factor numerators till after you add or subtract. We're not done. How far were you supposed to go? 30. We got a few more. You don't want your 5, Trent? You just want a 4? I thought you would. All right, so we have a function. And it asks for asymptotes, domain, and range. Okay? Remember, domain is which values? X, very good. Range is Y, all right? So, vertical asymptote and domain go together, right? Horizontal asymptote and range go together. Range, you told me was the Y, right? Okay, this is really easy. Horizontal asymptote, I'm sorry. Yeah, horizontal, I'll just do that first. We write Y equals, sorry. And here we write X equals. All right, so whatever that number is there is your horizontal asymptote. Okay, and then over here, it's not equals. Whatever you got there goes there, except it's not equals. Here, same thing. Whatever we get for that goes there, but it's not equal. It means domain, that means domain is anything but that, range is anything but that. Okay? And all we do here for vertical asymptote is what makes that equal to 0. So what number do I put in for X to make that equal to 0? 1. Okay? So you don't have to do anything to this. Just got to know where to look. All right? So whatever makes X 0 in the bottom is the vertical asymptote. Whatever numbers out in this side, so I should have done this. Let's do it this way. So if that was minus 7 there, then we would have put negative 7 in for that. Okay? Questions? So that's not too bad. All right, 27, we're solving an equation. But what do you notice about the denominators of the two fractions? They're the same, right? So if that happens, which it probably will, do I need to worry about that? No. Just do this. Okay? So what do I got to do to move the 5x over? Subtract it. So I get 2x. Right? And then divide by 2, right? Is that okay? No. That's not okay. Why? Makes me 0 down there, right? So we would say what? No solution. So we got to check. Check denominator on that one too. Write yourself a note for 27. But if they're the same, what if they weren't the same? What would we have to do? We'd have to cross multiply, right? It's a proportion. And just like law of signs, we've been doing a lot of, right? Cross multiply and divide. Solve for x. But that, we can just set the numerators equal. All right, 28. We have the 5th root of 243 z to the 10th. Okay? This says simplify that. So, how do we do fifth root in our calculator? You guys remember? Know where that is? All right, so if I want to do fifth root, hit the number 5 first. Or fourth root, hit the number 4. Or 10th root, hit the number 10. Then you go to math. Which one? Number 5, yes. What you're telling the calculator is that you're putting a 5 where that X is. And just put 243. So that part's 3. What do I do with the exponent and the index? Just divide them. What's 10 divided by 5? Okay. Okay, this one's the 9th root of 5 to the 7th power. It said, write it using rational exponent. So what's my base? What's the base? Louder. 5. Whatever's under the radical sign, that radicand, is the base. Colon. What's the exponent?
7,
Very good. 7/9. Just like we did 10 divided by 5, right? We do 7 divided by 9. That's all you have to do. Just write it using double fractions are called rational numbers, right? One more. So that's not too bad either, right? All right, number 30, we're solving this. We have a square root. When you're solving an equation with a square root in it, you got to get the square root part alone. So what do I do first, Kennedy?
Add the 4.
Good. Add the 4. That way we have the square root part alone. How do I get rid of the square root part, Scott? Yeah. Just square it. Right? But what you do to one side, you got to do the other, so make sure you do it to both sides. So I get x plus 5, because the square and the square root part cancel each other out. Whatever's under there is what's left. And what's 1 squared? 1. Then what?
-5.
Minus 5. So x equals -4. We're supposed to check them. So what's -4 plus 5? 1. What's the square root of 1? What's -4 plus 1? Work, right? Okay.